Hey guys, it's Bobby, aka Paginator, and today we're gonna diamond paint and have a little life update and chat. So we're gonna start off by talking to you about the books that I've been reading lately. I've been on kind of an audiobook kick. Audiobooks are really handy to assist in reading if you have other things to do with your hands. So as I've also been kind of in the mood to work on this diamond painting, I've been listening to some books. And just to give you an idea of what I'm working on, I'm going to show you the picture that came with it. It's this cute little dragon in a bubble bath. And we've got like a little fairy flying around in a castle and different things. So I have done this bottom section, and I'm currently working on this tree branch right here. I hope you could see that okay. Alright, so let's talk about, as I said, audiobooks. I'm going to start with Master of One by Jada Jones and Danny Bennett. I will talk about this in my August wrap-up as well, but I want to talk about a couple of books that I've listened to lately. So Master of One is a really interesting fantasy / adventure / like squad goals kind of what else? What's another word I'm trying to think of? I don't know. I'll explain why my brain's a little muddled here in a little bit. Anyway, we have a kind of a ragtag group of characters. One is literally named Rags, and they are being forced by a evil magician, kind of like the last magician in this kingdom, to locate the 6 pieces or relics of this fey magic, and if the 6 pieces are united, then the person who wields them has like this ultimate power, and so of course this evil magician wants it. And the way that he's exerting control is he implants mirror glass into the hearts of the people that are on this squad. So Rags and all the rest are implanted with mirror glass in their hearts. Well, not all, almost all. Mirror magic is the primary force of magic used in this world, and the mirror glass, if, let's say, for example, Rags has mirror glass in his heart and he defies or goes against this wizard, then the wizard will shatter the glass and it will rip Rags apart. Yeah, pretty violent. So one of the things about this, these relics that they're looking for, they're all metal, and they're all magic, and they have like a spirit of some kind, and they can take on different forms. So the first one we meet is One, and One is in the form of a metal lizard. Now when these metal pieces meet up with their destined master, they form this super intense bond. So if you've read the ACOTAR series and you know about like the mating bond, it's a similar kind of bond. They're very, very closely linked. So when one finds its master, those two feel like completely lost without each other. And so during the course of the book, they're supposed to find all 6 pieces, but they know that they're working for this corrupt magician, and so Rags and the other characters are quietly trying to find ways to sabotage, to go against, to sneak, to like do things without the magician finding out. And meanwhile, while Rags is questing, he stumbles upon a fae named Shiny Talon. And this fae is like, Rags kind of reawakens him from his slumber, and he's immediately like so in debt of gratitude to Rags. Like, I will guard your life forever. I live to serve you. And Rags is really annoyed at first, but the two start to develop a strong bond between them as well. And the book didn't tie up nice and neat, and they hadn't found all 6 pieces. So I'm guessing that a series is going to continue. I wasn't able to find any information on the author's website or any of the other sources that I checked. So we'll have to kind of wait and see to know for sure, but I'm really, really hoping that it will continue. I really enjoyed that book, and I know I didn't give all the details and stuff, but I don't want to spoil. I will say it does use the F word quite a bit, so if you're looking for recommendations for younger kids, maybe hold off on that one. But it was very fun to listen to and enjoy the characters in the story. The next audiobook that I dove into was Wicked As You Wish by Rin Chupeco. I picked up a physical copy a short time ago, and when I saw it was available on my state library's audiobook checkout system, I went ahead and checked it out, and I listened to it mostly, but I did like kind of follow along in the book sometimes, like at night before bed and that kind of thing. And that was kind of fun too. So this one was really interesting. We have another group of unlikely heroes, and we also have a legendary firebird, which I believe comes from Russian mythology, but there's a lot of things from other mythologies and stories and legends as well. So we have, many years ago, the magical kingdom of Avalon was left kind of encased in ice and snow from the Snow Queen and her wars. But then what happened was that the Avalon people, like, they were mostly thought to have disappeared. And one of them, the Crown Prince, is hiding out in a small town in Arizona with our main character, Tala. And Tala is a member of a family who, they kind of block magic, so magic doesn't work on them, or I'm not sure exactly how to explain her talent, but they kind of offer a sanctuary for this Crown Prince, Alex, until all heck breaks loose. The world in this one, like our world, knows about magic, knows it exists, and in fact, Tala's history teacher goes viral on social media when the curriculum is changed, and she gets really upset about the injustice of what she's being forced to teach about magic. And as we continue on with the story, Tala and Alex and other characters get swept away back into the more magical lands, and we hear references of the Wonderland Wars, a character named Cheshire. We hear several references from Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, and the Arthurian legends, Camelot. The characters are trying to reach a place called Lyonesse, which I believe is also from the Arthur tales, and they're off on a quest. So similar to the other book as well, like a group of characters questing in like magical places, but there was enough difference in the world building in both of those books that I really enjoyed both of them. If I had to choose between one or the other, I think Master of One would be the one that I liked the most of those two, but they're, like I said, both very enjoyable. I do know that Wicked As You Wish is the first in a series, and like I said, Master of One hopefully is going to be continued on as a series as well. So in regards to books, I have now moved on to Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. I'm only 3 chapters in, so I don't know a whole lot other than that we're looking at 3 sisters. There used to be witches, and maybe there will be again, and we're also looking at the women's suffrage movement, the quest for women to gain the vote in America. So that's kind of where I'm at with my reading. The fall semester of graduate school started yesterday. I don't really have anything that I had to do yet for that. I've got a Zoom meeting tonight with my professor, and they are going to explain what's happening as far as thesis work, because that's my only class this semester is thesis 1. And then in the spring I'll take thesis 2, where I'll complete and defend my thesis. And my thesis is going to be a young adult fantasy novel, so I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of work to do still. I've got a whole lot of drafting and revising and editing and just like building the world and the characters. I mean, I have 20 pages written, but I've also like made massive changes to what I already have, and I've thought of new plot twists and things to add. So it could be that my final product ends up looking nothing like what I have already written, and that's okay. I just finished with this color, so I'm going to be putting that away while I continue to chat. The frequent viewers of my channel will know that I am a school teacher, and Teachers' Days start tomorrow, August 25th, and then, of course, that'll be probably today as this uploads for you guys. And basically we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week for teacher meetings, getting classrooms ready, anything we need to prepare, and then our kids will start on September 1st. I feel kind of lucky because I know a lot of schools have already started, and I get a little bit longer of a summer break, which is quite frankly quite enjoyable because in Wyoming where I live, we've got to enjoy the good weather while it's here. Having said that, it's been kind of cold lately and rainy, but I still don't have to go to work, so, you know, win-win. So we've talked about books, we've talked about grad school, we've talked about my job. I'm going to be starting taking football pictures soon. I take pictures of all the high school football home games, mostly because of my friendship with the coach and his wife. And they're so good to me and help me feel included. It also helps my anxiety because I don't have to sit in the crowd at the football games. And I do love to watch a football game, not on TV, but like in person, watch the game play out. And it's always fun to watch my students play because a lot of times kids who don't necessarily shine in the classroom really shine on the field, or vice versa. And you get to see a different skill set from the kids that you know well. Usually there's a couple of kids on the high school team that I haven't taught, either because there were so many kids, there was an extra section and I didn't get everybody when they were in middle school, or maybe they moved in later. But for the most part, I did teach the entire football team, so I also get to stand on the sidelines and tell them to get a haircut and to be nice to me while I'm taking pictures. So that'll be fun. If you can't tell, I've been kind of putting off talking about the personal part of life because it's kind of in a, I guess scary is the best word for it. I'm in a scary place. My grandma Paige, she was my dad's mom, is in the hospital. She's 89. She's going to turn 90 on September 2nd to fall, you know, if we can keep her that long. And we were planning a big 90th birthday party for her that was going to be this weekend. And we're still kind of going to have it, but yesterday she was rushed to the hospital with blood clots in her lungs. I haven't been able to speak to her on the phone, but she has 7 kids. Okay, so I have my dad, 5 aunts, and 1 uncle. And so, of course, all of her kids have been speaking to her, and she's been talking with the doctors and trying to think through things. And she has a DNR in place, which means that she does not want to be resuscitated if things go really downhill. She's had a lot of health problems, especially a lot of pain in her back in the past few years, and she's so in love with my grandpa, and they've been separated for like 20 years, and she just wants to be with him again. And I don't know what you all believe, but in the faith that we hold in our family, we believe that after you die, you get to be reunited with your loved ones who have also passed on. So in a way, I can understand why she kind of wants to go. I mean, she wants to be out of pain, and she wants to be with her husband again, the love of her life. And my grandpa was, I mean, he was one of the best people I know. um, I would want to hang out with him all the time too. So I totally get it. It's just hard to think about her not being around. I'm going to try really hard not to cry while I'm talking to you guys. I let myself have a really good cry yesterday. So I'm trying to like keep myself together here as I work, and maybe now you'll kind of go, oh, I see why the camera's facing the diamond painting and not her face. I would really, while I'm thinking about this though, if you are a religious person and like have any kind of faith and wouldn't mind including my grandma in your prayers, we'd really like her to be able to be at her house this weekend. We're going to go to my aunt's house, which is right next door, and let the kids play in the yard. And if she's feeling up to it, maybe a couple of us can go in and say hi to her at a time and just kind of see her. I keep having the thought that this very well could be the last time that I get to visit with her. And it's just hard. I never say the right thing in the situation, so I probably wouldn't know what to say. And I don't want to, like, say goodbye to her. I don't want to, so. Okay. Let me pull myself together here. All right. So I want to tell you about my grandma, because if I tell you some fun things, then that'll help. So my grandma was born in 1931. She was a Depression baby. She was born in the Depression and raised on a farm in Idaho. Her father was a farmer, and his father was a farmer, and just generations of good farming people. She had one brother and 3 sisters, I think. This is how I can't even remember how many great aunts and uncles I have because my mind's discombobulated right now. We were lucky enough as kids to get to spend some time on the farm where she grew up. Her brother, my great uncle Sheldon, lived at the farm for many years, and I think he's now passed it on to one of his kids, but we were able to go play there on the farm, and they had a pond with a zip line on it. It was very like early days zip line. We were kids in the 80s. It was terribly dangerous. We probably could have got killed. But I actually have a scar on my ankle because I was standing at the top of the hill where the zip line starts and got some twine hooked around my ankle, and somebody went down the zip line and the twine jerked, and I have a lovely scar there. Okay. Focus, what are you doing? I just finished with this color. Okay. Anyway, back to my grandma. She grew up on a farm. She went to the local school there, and when she was born, I should back up. Okay, so when she was born, her parents named her Hazel. And in our church, when a baby is born, they have like a naming ceremony at the church. So when they were doing this blessing and naming thing, my grandpa, who she would eventually marry, was sitting in the pew. He was a little kid. He wasn't too terribly much older than her, but he wasn't old enough to like be able to speak and that. And he heard the name Hazel, and he goes, "That's a cow's name." But later he ended up marrying her, and it was quite lovely. So, yes, she did go to a local school there. She was quite the sassy child. There was a boy in the school that would go around snapping the girls' bras, and she thought, oh, he'll never snap mine because he only snaps the popular girls. And one day he did. He snapped hers, and she turned around and shoved him, and they were at the top of a little stairway, and he rolled all the way down the stairs. Like, yay, Grandma, good job. She told me that story just a couple weeks ago, and I laughed and laughed. She was a spitfire. Like, she's told us other stories throughout the years about things she used to do as a kid, and I think, she's kind of like our saintly grandma now, but back then when she was a kid, she's a little bit naughty. And I kind of love that about her. Like, I love that she wasn't always perfect. So she dated my grandpa, and they were dating when World War II happened, and he went off to fight in the war. Or maybe they had to have been dating at that time, because they got married. He didn't leave after they got married. Okay, so yeah, they were dating. And, sorry, I'm going to have to adjust my camera just a little bit. There we go. He fought in World War II. He never would talk to us much about that, but she wrote to him that whole time. And at one point, he stopped writing back to her. And this is kind of an odd story. So my grandma had a girlfriend who was really jealous of their relationship. At least we think that's why she did what she did. But she wrote a letter to my grandpa going, well, just so you know, Hazel's been like dating this guy behind your back. So my grandpa stopped writing to her, like to my grandma. And she was really upset, and she finally went and talked to his mom and like, what's going on? Why won't he write back? And his mom's like, well, aren't you dating someone? And she goes, no. So through the help of her future mother-in-law, they were able to clarify things, and it all worked out in the end. They got married. They had 7 kids. As I said earlier, they I don't know how many grandkids and great-grandkids they have now. It's in the ridiculous amounts of numbers. We need like a park for our family reunions. But they also have like honorary family members. Their home was always open, and they never did live in a big house. In fact, the house that they lived in for the time that I knew them as a couple, until my grandpa died, that house was quite small, but they always invited people to stay when they needed a place. For example, there were a couple of brothers who had grown up in that hometown and really wanted to stay, but their family was moving to the other end of the state, and they were in Utah at this point. So Grandma and Grandpa were living in northern Utah, and these 2 brothers wanted to stay in this northern Utah town. And Grandma and Grandpa said, well, just stay with us. Your family can go, and you can do your senior year, and you can stay with us. Grandma and Grandpa served a mission for a church in the West Indies, in St. Kitts and Nevis. And several people from the West Indies had come and stayed with them after that time. And there's just been so many people come in and out of that home and become part of our family. They did have the opportunity to foster a young Navajo girl from the reservation in New Mexico, I believe. And she is also part of our family. She's since passed on. So I think that, as I reflect on my grandma and what I might have gotten from her, I think my desire to create a safe space for my students in my classroom and to welcome them comes from her. My singing voice comes from her. She has a beautiful alto voice, and she can outsing me any day. But that's where any modicum of singing ability I have comes from. In later years, Grandma works for Utah State University in the vending, and they were going to start a bread shop, and she said, well, I have a good recipe. You're welcome to use it. And they've been making my grandma's bread at Utah State since then. And for a while even had a shop named after her. It was called Hazel's. And it was while I was at college, and as well as my brother, my sister, and a bunch of our cousins. And so we got to go to our grandma's bread shop while we attended college there. That was really fun. They still make the bread, although they've since converted the bread shop into a Starbucks. Ugh. But things change. She doesn't know that, by the way. And She taught me how to make bread. I still make her bread quite frequently. I make it for friends and you know, other people that, you know, if they're ill or something, I make them some homemade bread. So I also picked up that from her. She's been really excited about my writing, and just the other day, the last time I saw her, which was about a week and a half ago, she said, "I'm so excited to read your book, and I read fast, so you make sure you give it to me and I'll read it right away." And so that's probably not going to happen now, but I believe in angels, and maybe she'll be with me while I work on it, and that's okay. Gosh, I don't know what else I can tell you about Grandma. She's such a funny lady, and she loves to laugh. At our last family reunion, so my Uncle Thane has always like tormented us kids. Like when we were younger, he would say, "Oh, I'm gonna sit and fart on you, on your face," and like he would chase us, and like he was one of those uncles. Super fun, but like also like messed with us a lot. So at our last family reunion, my cousin Justin, who is just a little bit younger than me, picked up my Uncle Thane, flung him across his shoulder, and carried him down the hill to the mud puddle where the kids had been playing. Like they came off the water slide and created a mud puddle in the grass. Plopped him right down. Grandma laughed so hard she was in tears. It was like her favorite thing, and we have this picture of her after Uncle Thane had like come up from the mud hole. He came back to where we were all sitting, and he was like going to give Grandma a hug, and he's covered in mud, and she's in her beautiful, gorgeous clothing, and so she's got her cane raised up like she's gonna beat him. I will remember the picture of that for my entire life. It was hilarious and such an iconic moment of who she is and how much fun she loves to have with her family. Yeah. So I think we're gonna call this done. For the video, you can see I have much more still to do on this square. I did get a little bit accomplished while we were talking today, but I feel like I've told you all that I can tell you right now, and I need to let this still kind of process in my mind. Like I say, if you are a believer in prayer and you would consider including my grandma, that would be greatly appreciated. If you're not and you believe in positive thoughts, we'd love that too. Like, just, yeah. So thank you to you guys for always being so kind and supportive of me in the comments, and supporting my little channel. It's not big, and it's never going to be big, and I'm totally fine with that, but I appreciate the kindness and support that I get from you guys. So that's all I've got. I'm going to wish you a wonderful, magical, and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.